Well, the ladies of The View did not hold back on Democratic Senator John Fetterman during his appearance yesterday.
Here's co-host Anna Navarro asking Fetterman about his recent Mar-A-Lago visit.
You did get a lot of criticism for it from some people who thought you going to Mar-A-Lago gives cover to Trump by creating the solution that he's amenable to working with Democrats. I understand the need for bipartisanship. I didn't love the optics of you going to Mar-A-Lago. He was going to, which is his palace. He was going to be in Washington a week later. But what was your goal, and do you feel ultimately you were successful?
Well, here's what happened. I was being lazy on the couch like Friday night, and my team reached out saying, "Hey," and I don't know if this is like a trolling or a hoax, but they extended an invitation. You know, what do you think? I'm like, well, I mean, if they're playing it straight, then I think it's pretty reasonable to have a conversation. You know, inviting me to engage, and I visited it. So maybe some people would be critical of that, but you know, for me, engaging the president, I think when you're in this business, I mean, that's part of the job.
Co-host Sonny Hostin also asked Fetterman about his thoughts on Trump's indictments.
Take a look.
Just for clarification, did you mean that the 34-count case in which Donald Trump was found guilty of various financial crimes was politically motivated here in New York?
I found that when the judicial system gets weaponized and targeted political enemies for political gain, I think that's inappropriate, and I think that degrades our collective trust in this a very important institution, whether that's on a Democratic going after a Republican or a Republican going after a Democratic one. And I like to think I call it strikes and balls, because the judicial system has to remain impartial. I mean, that's really the cornerstone of our society.
Lastly, Hostin had to ask Fetterman about something that has been on a lot of our minds.
Now, there are those on the left who feel like you have made a rightward shift recently, going to Mar-A-Lago, joining Truth Social, your positions on issues like immigration, fracking. What do you say to those who are now, in a sense, questioning your commitment to the Democratic Party?
So rightward, that's just happened not to be true. I've been on record, too, saying I am not going to become a Republican. You know, although maybe some people might be happy on one side, but I would make a pretty terrible Republican because, you know, pro-choice, really strong immigration, pro-LGBTQ, you know, just pretty like, I don't think I'd be a good fit. So I'm not going to change my party. And if I am going to I'm going to show up. I'll give you the exclusive. I can announce.
Fox anchor David Asman wrote on X, "Hell froze over yesterday. It wasn't the polar vortex. It was Senator John Fetterman on The View. He literally shut them up for a few moments."
Author and computer science professor at Carnegie Mellon University, Jeffrey Bigham, wrote on Blue Sky, "Is literally any Democrat other than Fetterman even trying to play the attention game? This whole 'I'm not going to change parties' thing is totally manufactured. But there he is on the news, on The View, etc."
So, interestingly enough, his strategy, whatever it is, you can try whatever, has worked. So John Fetterman has doubled his approval ratings among centrist and Republican voters in the state of Pennsylvania. Here's the key thing, without losing support from Democrats. This is according to Morning Consult polling. He has, unlike, you know, your Kirsten Sinema type person who maybe gains some credibility or respect with conservatives, but then is getting killed on the Democratic side, he seems to have done this in a way that has not actually alienated his own constituents. You know, he does have a mix of, I think he gives very conservative vibes, really, without actually changing his policies to be particularly conservative. Maybe you could say his immigration policies are right-leaning relative to where Democrats have been recently. I think she mentioned fracking. I think he's always been in favor of fracking, so I don't think he changed his mind on that. And many Democrats who have to win races in places like Pennsylvania are. You know, on Israel, he is a really standout supporter of Israel and Netanyahu in a way that has really alienated the left, but doesn't, I don't know that necessarily automatically slots him into the Republican side, because there are Democrats outspoken in that way as well. So it's a bit of, I think it's a case of him optically and vibes-based becoming more acceptable to the right without actually betraying Democrats on all that many policies. Maybe they don't think that way, but this used to be what Democrats were able to successfully do to win in redder places or purple places that has become now anathema to the party's strategy, because if you don't, speak like the woke language or something, you're not going to be accepted by mainstream media people. But it used to be a successful strategy for some Democrats. Not everyone can run as the most woke progressive Democrat. So you've ended up with fewer Fettermans, so it's rarer, but that has been to the party's lack of success.
So first of all, we'll see how he fares over time in keeping the Democratic Party, and particularly people toward the left of the Democratic Party, on board with him. I'm very skeptical of his ability to do that.
But don't you think he is way more likely to win, to be reelected in one of the toughest Senate races for the most divided state in the country? I think what he has done makes him so much more likely to be reelected.
I think that is broadly true. I also think that's why he's doing it.
Yes.
And I think that one of the reasons why there is so much resentment of him, particularly on the left, is the idea that he is perceived to have deceived people. Now, how much that was part of his policy pronouncements and how much that was part of his general comportment and vibe, I think, is questionable. But certainly when he was first running for election, it was the whole sort of, as we saw there, hoodie wearing, shorts wearing, shaven headed, oh, this guy must be a progressive. And in fact, I think people were at least fooled by appearances there, but that Fetterman was intentionally fooling them in a way. Because since he has been elected, and especially more recently, he has been adopting these various policies that include immigration, but also include this unusual friendliness toward Trump, which is obviously not a popular position on the left, in relation to the Palestinian issue. I think the reason that animates so many people who care about that issue is the perception that John Fetterman has gloated about the level of Palestinian death and suffering. And so for people who care about such things, I think a lot of people find him reprehensible. None of that means he won't be re-elected. He may well be re-elected. I don't know if he has presidential aspirations. I am skeptical of his ability to reach those aspirations if he holds them. But I think this is pretty standard political opportunism that people are getting fascinated by because he looks unusual for a politician.
Obviously, I don't speak for the left whatsoever, although I've interacted with the left quite a bit over the course of hosting this show.
Including people who are animated by the Palestinian issue.
Yes,
But anyway,
so that issue I certainly think the left feels betrayed by Fetterman on and dislikes him for. I don't really think I think the meeting with Trump stuff offends the hosts of The View, who aren't really left people. They're like liberal progressive people who just, have Trump derangement syndrome and so don't want anyone to ever even stand in the same room as Trump. I don't think people on the left care that he interacted with Trump or even said that, not all the cases against Trump are equally important or good or valid. I do think they care about the Israel stuff. Maybe they care about the immigration stuff or fracking or whatever else that is a little more purple policy. I don't think anyone other than the people sitting at that table really cares that he had a meeting with Trump. You can meet with Trump and disagree with him. You should aspire to have a working relationship with the President of the United States if you're a major and influential lawmaker, no?
I just like your love for The View, Robby. I assume you were running home yesterday to catch John Fetterman's appearance with your favorite co-host.
My favorite commentators. I love Alyssa. She makes a lot of good points there in a difficult territory. It's not easy to. I know some conservatives always wish she would do a bigger job of really punching them in the face rhetorically, not literally. It's hard. People underestimate how difficult it is to even get a word in when you're up against 5 other people who disagree with you as viscerally as they do. It's tough. I think she does the best job she possibly can. That does it for us today on Rising. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you can find podcasts. See you later.